Hey everybody, I'm Tim Mooney with the Timothy Mooney Repertory Theater. So today, we're going to begin a series on Shakespeare's Histories, which will kick off an adventure that will take us through all 10 Shakespeare history plays, beginning with the first in the series, King John. My plan is to shine just a little bit of light into what may seem like confusing choices Shakespeare's making, and perhaps give you a sense of just why Shakespeare would have made such a choice, and why the English audience of the 1590s would appreciate it. Ultimately, to give you, the viewer, double the opportunity or likelihood of being able to finally get this play. First of all, King John has a bad rap. He probably wasn't a great king, but he probably wasn't as evil as he is almost always depicted. King John had the misfortune of living in the shadow of his brother, Richard, almost universally known as Richard the Lionheart or Coeur de Lion in French. It was actually French that these guys would have been speaking because they spent seemingly all their time in France, mostly just going back to England when they wanted to collect money. More than anything, this was why they resented King John, as he had to keep going back to the well, charging them more and more taxes to continue his very expensive wars. How did John get such a bad rap? He was left in charge of England, while Richard was gone on the Crusades. Richard went off to fight the Muslims and was away for about 3 years. Richard was kind of a bully. But when the bully is fighting on your side, those bullying qualities tend to look more like nobility or valor. So he was mostly seen as a hero to the English audience. He did some mean-spirited things, notably to Leopold, the Count of Austria, following a successful conquest of a Muslim city, and literally kicked his butt in one rather humiliating encounter. Having alienated pretty much everyone that he was fighting with, Richard tried to sneak his way back across Europe on his return from the Crusades, but was captured and held for ransom by Leopold for some time, and John, who was enjoying his life as substitute king, was in no hurry to pay his ransom. And it's this period of John acting as the usurper king while the real king was held prisoner that gave John the bad name and inspired the many stories of Robin Hood as well as Ivanhoe. Yes, probably John was a self-serving jerk, but all of those bad qualities are multiplied tenfold when you think that he's seeing to it that your real hero king is being held prisoner. The king that you're not allowed to have is always better than the one you have, who seems to be screwing everything up, which John kinda was. But all of this happened in the first half of the 1190s, and King Richard returned and continued to live until 1199, when, in the course of laying siege to Limoges, a castle in France, there was a pot of gold there that Richard wanted for himself. Richard was shot by an arrow, and the wound festered, and he died. Shakespeare, needing a bad guy for this play, combines two people, the Count Leopold of Austria, the one who had captured Richard and held him prisoner back in 1192, and the French Count of Limoges, who supposedly would have been the one who shot the arrow in 1199, and calls this character, who is fighting on the side of the otherwise generally likable King Philip of France, Limoges, Duke of Austria. Leopold, Limoges, what's the difference? Well, the actual Leopold of Austria died in 1194, but Shakespeare's counting on you not remembering that much history. To reinforce the reminder that Leopold was really bad to Richard the Lionheart, Shakespeare has Leopold/Limoges wearing a lion's skin as a kind of thin pretense at the valor that he supposedly stole from Richard. Anyway, John controls a wide swath of the Angevin Empire through France, and much of this play has him fighting to hang on to it, trying to keep it out of the hands of Philip II of France, and to keep it out of the hands of Arthur, his young 15-year-old nephew, the son of his late brother, the fourth brother in line of succession, Geoffrey. Given that John was the fifth son in line, Geoffrey's son should have had first dibs on the kingship after Geoffrey died. Philip II of France is fighting a kind of a proxy war by advocating for Arthur as the rightful king. Beyond his sense that he will reap some reward from Arthur if and when he becomes king, Philip II probably also thinks that a weak 15-year-old king of England will be easier for him to control and perhaps gain back portions of the Angevin Empire. Much of what I focus on in my performance of the King John part of my play, Shakespeare's Histories, 10 epic plays at a breakneck pace, is about how badly King John treats his nephew Arthur once he manages to capture him in battle. You'll want to tune into that performance this Sunday and Monday, July 19th and 20th, 2020, or again on Sunday, Monday, September 20th and 21st. All shows at 9 p.m. And while we're at it, if you're enjoying this video, please hit like or subscribe below. But having invented a bad guy for this play, Leopold of Austria, it seems that Shakespeare also wanted to create a good guy. King John is certainly not anybody's good guy, especially given his treatment of Richard, and however good a king Philip II might have been, Shakespeare can never treat a French king as a hero. Mark it down. So he invents someone else, and it's another Philip. Philip Falconbridge is supposedly the eldest son of a soldier and is trying to inherit his father's estate. But that inheritance is being contested by the second son, who insists that his elder brother is not a legitimate son, but a, if you will excuse the term, bastard. He's called a bastard over and over again in this play, so you'd kind of just have to get used to it. It's no kind of a swear word for Shakespeare, just a description of somebody's lineage. In fact, given that there's another Philip in this play, Philip II, King of France, Shakespeare attributes all of this Philip's lines under the header, bastard. It's also fairly likely that the actual Richard the Lionheart was gay/homosexual, which may explain why he never did get around to having an actual son, but Shakespeare isn't going to take your thinking down that road. Well, by wild coincidence, this Philip, the bastard, just happens to look a lot like the late King Richard. King John recognizes this. King John's mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, recognizes this, and eventually Philip the Bastard's mother admits that, yes, she did kind of sleep with King Richard way back when, and yes, Philip was the product of that encounter. King John and his mom immediately say, hey, let go of the inheritance argument, come be a knight with us. And he does. And it is through these most unlikely coincidences that Shakespeare manages to put onto the stage, well after Richard the Lionheart was safely dead, a physical representation of the late hero king and a wild, impossible combination of the two men who gave the actual King Richard his most trouble back when he was still alive, a man that the English audience will now have every opportunity to boo and hiss practically every time he opens his mouth, a man that the new Richard stand-in will be able to humiliate again and again and eventually kill. Assuming that we don't know all of these historical details, we may look at these two characters and say, why do we care about the argument that these two guys are having? Because they're not really involved in the main plot line whatsoever. Well, it's because, you see, the English audience is lapping it up with a spoon, saying more, more. And Shakespeare really does come through for them. He practically centers this play, which we may recall is called King John, around Philip the Bastard. Philip the Bastard maybe wouldn't have worked so well as a title, giving him the most lines in the entire play, about 80 more lines than King John himself has. It's almost as if Philip the Bastard is standing in as a kind of Greek chorus, commenting on the action for the benefit of the audience, maybe answering the question of, what would Richard Lionheart have had to say about all this then? At the ends of Acts 1, 2, 4, and 5, Philip has the last lines of the act. Here he is at the end of Act 1 after learning that he is a bastard and that his father was Richard Lionheart. He tells his mother, I, my mother, with all my heart I thank thee for my father. Who lives and dares but say thou didst not well when I was got? I'll send his soul to hell. Come, lady, I will show thee to my kin, and they shall say, when Richard me begot, if thou hadst said him nay, it had been sin. Who says it was? He lies. I say 'twas not. At the end of Act 2, the warring factions of the French and the English are about to ransack a city in advance of going to battle with each other, when somebody in the city suggests, hey, why do battle? King John has a lovely niece over there who might pair nicely with the French prince over there, the Dauphin. Rather than fighting, maybe there's some accommodation you guys can work out. So suddenly, the big battle turns from fighting to lovemaking, and Philip the Bastard makes fun of this accommodation by mocking it as a commodity. To understand this fully, you might need to know that there was an earlier play called The Troublesome Reign of John, King of England, in which Philip the Bastard had been promised King John's niece, Blanche, in marriage, which would have landed Philip an extremely sizable dowry, making him rich. Shakespeare forgets to mention that they've pulled this switcheroo out from under him. Mad world, mad kings, mad composition. And why rail I on this commodity? But for because he hath not wooed me yet. Well, whiles I am a beggar, I will rail, and say there is no sin but to be rich. And being rich, my virtues then shall be to say there is no vice but beggardy. Since kings break faith upon commodity, gain be my lord, for I will worship thee. At the end of Act 4, Philip discovers the dead body of the 15-year-old Prince Arthur, who had the true right to the throne above King John, and suspecting foul play, realizes just how much the suspicion of Arthur's murder is going to tear apart the kingdom. Keep in mind that while on the page these lines are spoken by Bastard, the audience, by this time, sees him as a reincarnation of their favorite king, Richard. I am amazed, methinks, and lose my way among the thorns and dangers of the world. The life, the right, and truth of all this realm is fled to heaven, and England now is left to tug and scramble and to part by the teeth the unowed interest of proud swelling state. Bear away that child, and follow me with speed. I'll to the king. 1,000 businesses are brief in hand, and heaven itself doth frown upon the land. Philip the Bastard also gets the final lines of the play at the end of Act 5, with King John now dead, and his son, Prince Henry, taking over as Henry III. Shakespeare has skipped over and mashed together about 15 battles and infighting and the occasional interference of the Pope. He reflects on the tumult of all the battles that England has waged in the face of internal division, which is a theme that runs through all 10 history plays. He seems to be taking up Shakespeare's warning for the Elizabethan audience not to do the same. This England never did, nor never shall, lie at the proud foot of a conqueror, but when it first did help to wound itself. Now these her princes are come home again. Come, the three corners of the world in arms, and we shall shock them. Naught shall make us rue, if England to itself do rest but true. So that's I Finally Get King John. Hopefully, your understanding of this bit of background will double your ability to understand what's going on in the play. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more. You'll also want to tune in to catch Shakespeare's Histories 10 Epic Plays at a Breakneck Pace this Sunday and Monday, July 19th and 20th, 2020, and or again on Sunday, Monday, September 20th and 21st, all shows at 9 p.m. If it so happens that you are watching this video after those dates, please swing by timmooneyRep.com for all the latest details of the performance schedule, or to book an event for your own school, theater, or conference. I do these explainer videos just about every week, releasing them on Friday in advance of the performances. You can go back and see the first one I did on Shakespeare's Histories, perhaps up there somewhere, titled I Finally Get Shakespeare's Histories, which will give you even more insight into the overall arc of these 10 plays, and there you'll find more videos on lots of Shakespeare stuff with a bit of Moliere sprinkled in for fun. We've also got a Patreon campaign. If you'd like to support this work, we are a not-for-profit institution at patreon.com/TimMooneyRep. We have giveaways of lots of swag and even drawings for free performances. And this and lots more goodies can be found at timmooneyRep.com. Thanks for watching. See you on the stage.